It's over. The thing that kept you awake crying these last few months, it's been evicted. I've revoked its lease, I've cancelled its claim. Whatever was taking up space inside of you has been stricken from the record in heaven, and no power on earth can hold back what I have already set free. I brought you here right now to this video because this message was scripted with your name on it before you ever took your first breath, and it was time to reach you precisely after everything you've endured lately, not a moment before. Now, stay with me until the very end. Before this is over, you're going to receive a protocol, a specific declaration to speak out loud, to seal the eviction of that old season. It's a decree that the spirit realm registers as final. Do not walk away before we get there. But before we do, I need to sit with you for a moment. You know those nights where you lie there doing a mental inventory. You count the months, 1, 2, 6, maybe more. And there's no prize at the end of the counting, just the crushing weight of realizing how long that thing has been living inside you. You stare at the ceiling, unable to tell if what you're feeling is sadness, exhaustion, or just the haunting certainty that something isn't right. Your mind tries to organize the chaos, trying to find some logic that makes the burden make sense. And when the explanation doesn't come, you drift off with the book still open, the weight sitting exactly where it was when your head hit the pillow. You know what it's like to send a text that says "I'm fine" with a hand that's shaking. It wasn't a calculated lie. It wasn't a performance. It was protection. You learned early on that trying to explain what you were going through cost more than just carrying it in silence. Because words felt too small. Because when you tried to translate the ache inside, it never sounded the same by the time it reached the other person. So you chose silence. Over time, that silence became so familiar, you almost forgot there was something buried underneath. Almost. But not quite. You know that person in the mirror early in the morning, before the rest of the world wakes up. There's a question in your eyes you can't even put into words. It's not, "Why did this happen?" You've answered that 1,000 times from 1,000 different angles, with explanations that worked for 5 minutes and then failed. The real question was deeper. You looked at yourself and asked silently, "Is this ever going to change? Will there be a day where my first thought isn't this?"
You seek. You dedicate yourself. You do everything right, and yet abundance never comes. And the worst part, you start wondering if you're doing something wrong, if you're being heard up above, if it's meant for you at all. It's not a lack of faith or worthiness. It's a spiritual blockage that ordinary prayer alone cannot break. The Miracle Journal unblocks this in 21 days with a spiritual protocol that works exactly where your prayer doesn't reach. Along with the journal, you'll also receive as a gift the prayer guide and the Psalms manual with the most powerful sacred practices and texts to deepen your transformation. To claim your version of the journal, tap the link in the comments right below this video.
Is ever going to change? Will there be a day where my first thought isn't this? And the mirror didn't answer, just your face staring back, and the weight that was awake long before you were. There was a weight, not the kind with a clinical name, not the kind you can describe to a friend and have them fully understand. A weight with no diagnosis, no declared cause, no explanation that would satisfy anyone around you. You'd wake up and just know it was there. It wasn't the same every day. Some days it was lighter, and on those days you'd breathe a sigh of relief, thinking maybe it was finally passing, but then it would return to its usual spot. Like a piece of furniture you never chose, but it takes up the room without asking permission. You aren't weak for carrying this, you're still standing. And that isn't a small detail. The fact that you're still standing means that when you had every legitimate reason to break, when logic said the cost was too high, when circumstances authorized a total collapse, something inside you refused, you decided to keep going, that something has a name, and you're going to receive that name today. If this description finds you where you are right now, hit the like button. That like is your public amen. Heaven records what you confess in the light. I brought you here because this message is for you, not for the person who sent you the link, for you. And what you're about to receive is going to change the way you interpret everything you've been through. 3 things will happen before we're done. First, you're going to understand that the tears of these last few months weren't a punishment. They were a process of separation. Heaven wasn't casting you out. It was moving you out of something that wasn't supposed to go where you're going. The tears of separation and the tears of abandonment feel the same on the inside. Same texture, same weight, same long nights. But one ends in a void, and the other ends in lightness. You're going to recognize the difference, and you're going to know which one was yours. Second, you're going to receive the protocol of the revoked lease, 3 steps, and on the third, you're going to declare something out loud that will close the door on what these months left open. The Spirit doesn't close what isn't named. You're going to name it, you're going to declare it, and what is declared in the presence of Spirit does not go unanswered. Third, when this video ends, you'll be able to say with absolute certainty, not as a wish, not as a fragile hope, but as a finished fact, that thing no longer lives in me. And you're going to know the name of what took its place, not the emptiness that an absence would leave, but the thing that arrived to fill the space the process created. Close your eyes for a second. Take a deep breath. What I'm about to tell you doesn't work if your attention is divided. Let the world pause for a moment. When you open your eyes, pay attention, because the signs I'm going to name are the proof that what you endured was serving a purpose you couldn't see from the inside. You called these signs one thing. I'm going to show you what they really are. First sign, the physical exhaustion that arrived in these last few weeks for no apparent reason. Not a sickness, not a lack of sleep. A bone-deep fatigue that rest couldn't touch. You'd sleep and wake up tired. You'd rest and the exhaustion would come right back. You called it burnout. You called it not performing. Maybe you worried something was wrong with your health or your drive. You tried to calculate the last time you felt truly energized, and the answer was too far back. But what was happening was different. Your body was completing the processing your spirit started. When the spirit works deep, when it's going through a real separation, the body registers the operation. It's not weakness, it's evidence of a real process. The fatigue was a sign of work being done, not of you breaking down. Second sign, memories of these last few months hitting you without a trigger. You'd be in the middle of a normal day and suddenly a scene from those months would come back, in high definition, with the same emotional texture it had when it happened. You didn't call for it. You didn't do anything to provoke it, and it stayed for minutes, sometimes longer. You called it trauma on a loop. You called it not being able to let go. You were afraid it would never stop. But what was happening was different. The spirit was doing the final filing. Before a folder is closed forever, the system has to review the contents, confirm the record, catalog it. The memories didn't come back to trap you. They came back to be archived, to get the case closed stamp before the file is sealed for good. The archive was being closed, not reopened. Third sign, sudden intolerance. Environments you used to tolerate started to feel heavy in a new way. Conversations you used to follow easily started to drain you. People who used to drain you a little started to drain you completely. You called it impatience, you called it losing your cool. You worried you were becoming hard to be around, that people were noticing, that you were changing for the worse. But what was happening was different. Your frequency was being recalibrated. When someone is being tuned to a higher level, everything from the old level starts to cause static. It's not because you became arrogant, it's because the frequency changed. It wasn't impatience, it was incompatibility between where you were going and where you were. You didn't get difficult, you leveled up. Fourth sign, dreams of places you don't recognize, faces you've never seen in your waking life, situations with no rational explanation that stay vivid for hours after you wake up. You'd think about the dream all day and couldn't fit it into any known experience. It wasn't a nightmare, it wasn't stress dreaming, it was something else, sharper, steadier, carrying a feeling that didn't fade. You called it your mind processing stress. You called it a weird dream and brushed it off. But what was happening was different. Heaven was showing you the lobby of your next cycle. The next season has a landscape. It has places, it has contexts. Before you walked in, I was showing you fragments, so that when you arrive, something in you will recognize it. Not with conscious memory, but with an unexplainable sense of home. Those dreams weren't an escape, they were an orientation. The next sign is the hardest to hear. It's the one the enemy spent the most time trying to make you ignore, because this is the sign that confirms everything. Fifth sign, and the most important, The moments of unexplainable quiet that came in the middle of the pain. Moments where, for no rational reason, with no change in circumstances, no good news, no problem solved, the weight lifted for just a few seconds. A peace that made zero sense given the context. It had no business being there. It would arrive out of nowhere, stay for a few minutes, and then vanish. You didn't know what to do with it. You dismissed it. You called it checking out or emotional numbness, that you were just losing your ability to feel, not that you were receiving something real. Maybe you even felt guilty for that peace, because you thought you weren't supposed to feel okay in the middle of a wreck. But it wasn't that. Those moments of unexplainable quiet were the clearest sign of all. They were me arriving. They were the confirmation that the lease was being revoked before you even knew the eviction notice was served. Peace without a rational reason isn't an absence of feeling. It's the presence of the divine. If these signs hit home for you, type "free" in the comments. That word matters. What you confess in the light carries real spiritual weight. Close your eyes for a second. Breathe. There's a story you know, but I want to show you a side of it you've probably never considered. Joseph was sold by his brothers. You know that. He went to Egypt. You know that. He worked in Potiphar's house. He was falsely accused. He went to prison. And then he reached Pharaoh's palace as second in command. You know all that. But there's a period in the middle of that story that isn't described in detail. Not the court days, not the hour the cupbearer finally remembered him. The months in the prison, the daily grind, what Joseph carried every single morning when he woke up within those walls, the pain that had a fixed address, those bars, those stones, that confinement with no end date. There was no exit in sight, no sign on the horizon that it was ever going to end, no confirmation that the dream he had as a boy was still valid, or if it was just the ego of a teenager. Just the pain with a fixed address, and no external evidence that it would ever change. What the text doesn't describe, but what happened in those months, was this. Everything that couldn't enter the palace was being stripped away. The arrogance of the boy who told his dreams without a filter. The dependence on the validation of those who were supposed to protect him. The naivety that couldn't tell the difference between who deserved trust and who was watching with an agenda. All of that stayed in the prison, not because Joseph chose to leave it, but because the process removed it. When Joseph walked out of that prison and into Pharaoh's palace, he walked in as a different man. The difference wasn't external training. It wasn't a mentor or a course. It was what those months of pain with a fixed address extracted from him. They took what couldn't go to the next level. You didn't choose your last few months, but they were the eviction notice of your old self, just like Joseph. And here's a second image for you. Something closer to home. Think of a piece of clothing that's been in your closet for months. You haven't worn it, not because it's ruined, not because it looks old, but because you changed, not your physical size, but your internal shape. The clothes still exist. You remember wearing them. You have specific memories attached to them, conversations, moments, the way the day smelled. And yet, when you pick it up and try to see where it fits in your current life, it just doesn't. You try to hang it back up, but the closet tells you there's no room for what no longer belongs. It's not a rejection of the clothes. It's a confirmation that you've outgrown them. The last few months were the clothes you've been outgrowing. The tears weren't the clothes being destroyed. They were the clothes being set aside, left behind. Not with violence, but with the quiet recognition that the space now has a different purpose. Joseph didn't choose what he carried in prison, but what he carried was exactly what removed everything that couldn't enter the palace. You didn't choose your last few months, but they were the cancellation of everything that couldn't enter what comes next. Let's stop for 1 full minute. You made it this far, not out of curiosity, not by accident, because this message was marked with your name. And what you've received so far isn't spiritual theory. It's a map of what happened in your life, using a language that makes the weight make sense. Those months happened. They won't be minimized. They won't be covered up with surface-level spirituality that says it was all for the best without honoring the real price you paid. That's not how we do things here. The weight was real. The inventory nights were real. The mirror in the morning was real. The hand that shook while writing "I'm good" was real. The nameless weight that woke up with you was real. And what you're learning here is that all of it had a function, not a punishment, not abandonment, not an accident. A specific function, a precise operation, a process with a destination. The weight did what it was sent to do. And now what's coming is what the new space can finally hold. I saw every night you did the inventory. I saw every morning at the mirror. I saw the question you couldn't put into words. I was there. Not as a distant witness waiting for the right time to show up, but inside that moment with you. And what those moments did in you was exactly what needed to be done so that the next cycle had room to enter. It wasn't waste. It was preparation. What you're about to hear isn't a human title. It's what I call you when I speak to heaven about you. The first thing I see when I look at your last few months is this. You survived the address. The pain had a fixed address for months, and you stayed. You didn't run from the process with a shortcut. You didn't find a side exit to avoid the work. You stayed. You processed. And you didn't lose your faith in the middle of it. You might have lost your clarity. Clarity comes and goes. You might have lost your certainty. Certainty isn't what sustains a separation. But the faith stayed. That thing in you that refused to let go of what was essential, even when you couldn't see. The faith stayed, and that is rare. I see so many people enter a process of separation and take the first available shortcut, the first exit that promises to end the discomfort before the work is done. They leave before the file is closed. You didn't leave. You walked through it. The second thing I see is this. You were set apart to move forward. Every layer those tears removed from you was something that couldn't enter the next cycle. Not as a punishment, but because of incompatibility. The next level has requirements, not performance requirements, not merit based on effort. Requirements of internal space. The next cycle needs certain rooms available to function. What was removed in these months cleared exactly the space the next cycle demands. I wasn't emptying you, I was calibrating you. The difference between being emptied and being calibrated is the destination. To be emptied is to be left with a void. To be calibrated is to be prepared to receive what was designed to fill that space. What left you in these months wasn't your future. It was what was blocking your future from getting in. You didn't lose, you were prepared. And preparation that comes with a price tag lasts longer than preparation that costs nothing. The third thing I see is this. You are the bearer of a closed cycle. You got here without understanding everything, without an explanation for every month, without a guarantee of when it would end, and you still kept going. That willingness to continue without full visibility has a name, faith in its most functional form. I saw your willingness. I saw the day you had every reason to quit and you didn't. I saw the choice to keep going when logic said the cost was too high. I saw what that choice cost you, and it's on the record. This authorizes you to declare the end of the cycle out loud, not as a hope, not as wishful thinking, but as a spiritual registration of what heaven has already decreed. Heaven has declared it closed. Your declaration doesn't create the closure, it registers what is already sealed. Type your new identity in the comments. Survivor with intact faith, set apart to move forward, bearer of a closed cycle. One of these hits harder. Type it. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, do it now. What's coming next is the continuation of what started here. It's time for what I promised. This is the protocol of the revoked lease. 3 steps. Do not rush them. Do 1. Breathe. Do the 2nd. Breathe again. Do the 3rd. The rhythm matters. Step 1. Name out loud what you carried in these last few months. Not to relive the pain, but to hand it over. The Spirit does not release what is not named. It can be one word, it can be a sentence, but it must come out of your mouth, not in your head, not in writing. Use your voice, even if it's a whisper in a quiet room. Do it now before we move on. Step 2. Declare out loud that this burden no longer has an address in your life. Thinking it isn't enough. The eviction must be verbalized to be registered. You can use these words. This no longer has a place in me. I revoke its claim here and now. What you named in step 1 is now explicitly detached from you. Step 3. Receive in silence for 60 seconds. Do not ask for anything else. Do not list your next requests. Do not check to see if it worked. Just stay in the silence for 60 seconds and receive what heaven has already prepared for the space that was created. The sign isn't euphoria. It isn't an intense electric feeling. It's quiet. If euphoria comes first, wait. The real sign is the peace that needs no explanation. The same unexplainable peace you felt before, only now you'll know what it is. If you've completed these 3 steps, type "received" in the comments. Now, I have to tell you what most people won't. In the next 72 hours, 3 things will be launched against what you just did. Not as a possibility, but as a certainty. The first tactic is the counting of the months. It will come disguised as a legitimate memory. An internal voice will say, "Look how long you suffered. Look how many months were wasted. Look what that period cost you." It wants you to interpret the process as a waste of time. It wants you to regret the process instead of honoring what it produced. When that voice comes, and it will, recognize it. It isn't reminding you of the past to free you. It's trying to reopen the address using the key of guilt. The second tactic is the doubt of merit. It will come disguised as humility. A voice will say, "Who am I to receive something new after all I've done with my history?" It will use the language of spiritual modesty to paralyze you at the border of your new season. Its goal is to make you back move before you take the first step. When that voice comes, remember, merit isn't the criteria. Calling is. Preparation is. And you have been prepared. The third tactic is the attachment to the old cycle. This is the most sophisticated because it will come disguised as gratitude or responsibility. A voice will say, "But what about the people left in that cycle? What about the unresolved things?" It will use the pretext of responsibility to keep you tethered to the old address. It wants you to feel like moving forward is abandonment. When that voice comes, recognize it. Keeping the address active doesn't solve what's left behind. It only keeps you trapped where heaven has already cancelled your name. You can take care of what needs care by moving forward, not by staying still. And there is an enemy that comes from within. Right after the protocol, right after the silence, a voice will whisper, "Maybe it's too late. Maybe you missed the window. Maybe this works for others, but your case is different." Recognize that voice. It is the last gasp of the old cycle trying to sound like your own voice of maturity. It isn't maturity. It's the resistance of something that lost its right to stay and is trying to negotiate for more time. Type "protected" in the comments. The decree is sealed. Now close your eyes, place your right hand on your chest. Let your left foot step forward slightly, the posture of someone about to take a step. Take a deep breath. One more. I am naming what you are handing over right now. The months where the tears had no name, where you woke up at 3 a.m. and the first thing you felt was the weight. Where you counted the months in the silence of your room. Hand that over. The version of you that at some point started calculating not when it would end, but how to live with the pain forever. The version that closed off the horizon as an act of self-protection. Hand that version over. It did its job. It can go now. The exhaustion of trying to explain yourself to others. The fatigue of looking for words only to realize they were too small for the ache inside. The silence you used as a shield. Hand that over. Now, I am speaking to you. I saw those nights. I saw you lying there in the silence, counting the months with a weight that had no name but a massive presence. I wasn't outside watching and waiting for it to be over. I was inside those nights with you. Every time the count reached a number that felt impossible to carry, I was what kept the count from destroying you. You didn't know it was me then, but it was. I was what made you face the next morning. I saw the mirror. Those mornings where you woke up before the world and stared at that silent question. I was in the mirror with you, not as an immediate answer, but as a presence, as the one who held the day together, even when you weren't sure you wanted it to start. Those mornings weren't empty. I was in them. What you lived through wasn't my abandonment. It was my most careful operation. It was precise. It was specific. There was no way to explain it from the inside while it was happening. Separation processes are never understood while the surgery is in progress. You had to be on the other side to see what was removed, and now you are here, on the other side. What was separated has been left behind, and what is arriving has the space that those months of pain created. I revoke the lease. The thing that made you cry these last few months no longer lives in your destiny. It has no access to what comes next. It has no key to the next cycle. The record has been cancelled, and what is cancelled in heaven finds no door on earth. You are mine. What is yours is sealed. What isn't yours is evicted. Now, before you go to the comments, say this out loud. Say, "That thing no longer has my address." Say it out loud, right where you are, even in a whisper. What is declared with the voice has a weight that a thought can never carry. A thought is private. A declaration is a record. That thing no longer has my address. It is done. What was handed over is gone. What was cancelled is cancelled. What was declared is registered. You are not the same person you were when this message started. Type "done" in the comments. No explanation, no summary. Just the word. Done. And now think of one specific person. Just one. Their name will come to you before you finish this sentence. The person you know is going through their heaviest months right now, the one doing the nightly inventory. Send this to them. Now. Not tomorrow. This word was written for them too. And you are the bridge that brings them here. The next video continues what we started. There is more in this channel than fits in one message. And if they want to go deeper, the link is in the first comment, waiting for them just like it waited for you. It is done. You are not the same person you were when this started.
You seek. You dedicate yourself. You do everything right, and yet abundance never comes. And the worst part? You start wondering if you're doing something wrong, if you're being heard up above, if it's meant for you at all. It's not a lack of faith or worthiness. It's a spiritual blockage that ordinary prayer alone cannot break. The Miracle Journal unblocks this in 21 days with a spiritual protocol that works exactly where your prayer doesn't reach. Along with the journal, you'll also receive as a gift the prayer guide and the Psalms manual, with the most powerful sacred practices and texts to deepen your transformation. To claim your version of the journal, tap the link in the comments right below this video.